Hello, welcome back to the channel for our Queen's Park Rangers match preview. Before we dive into my thoughts on the game, we're going to hear from QPR fan Connor to get his thoughts from an opposition's perspective.
Hello, I'm Connor from QPR fan channel Hoopser, and I've been asked to answer a few questions ahead of Watford QPR at the weekend. So starting off with what my hopes and expectations are for the season ahead, I'm hoping really that we can build on last season's mid-table finish. We finished 15th. The last few seasons have involved a bit of a relegation battle at some periods of the season, so I'm hoping that we can keep out of that this time and we'll be in the upper ends of the table this time round. Now, how would I rate the transfer window so far? It's been pretty good, to be honest. Kwame Poku came in from Peterborough. We've got Amadou Mabenge on a free from Reading. Both feel like really good pieces of business. Also got Raman Burrell in an attempt to shake up our strike force. But of course, the eye-catching one announced on Wednesday was Richard Kone from Wycombe Wanderers. Obviously, a lot of competition for his signature this summer. I'm actually really shocked that we're the ones who've managed to pull it off. Just very excited about that one. So like I say, in combination with Burrell, it looks like we've actually shaken up a pretty poor strike force. So hopefully he hits the ground running. Now, in terms of what system we're going to play this season, obviously we've got a new manager in Julian Stefan. He so far has set QPR up in the same 4-2-3-1 that we saw under Martí Cifuentes last season. We do know that he occasionally likes wing backs as well as two up top. So we might see those formations at some point this season, but I think for the time being, he'll be easing us in with the same system. Now, in terms of my thoughts on Watford, it's a really hard one to say. It feels like you rolled the dice again with another manager from overseas. A lot of new players coming in, which look like they bring some pace and power, but how all these players start to gel in the early season is going to be the big question. In terms of your biggest strength, I would have said Chakvetadze. I think he is right up there as one of the best players in the division, but I know he is out injured at the moment, so that is a shame for the weekend. On the weaker side, I do think it is just that consistency. You've had some good periods over the last couple of seasons, but it always seems to crumble away in the latter stages. So I think if you want to build upon last season, it's going to have to be a lot more consistent throughout the course of the season. Now, on the topic of injuries, in terms of QPR's injury concerns, Jimmy Dunn wasn't available last Saturday after sustaining a hip injury in pre-season. We still don't have any word if he's going to be available for this weekend, which will be a big loss at right back. Jonathan Varane and Paul Smith were also both unavailable for the opening game of the season, but are expected to be back in action here. But by far the biggest question marks for us right now are Karamoko Dembele and Kwame Poku, both who were very impressive against Preston last weekend, but both left the pitch seemingly with injury. We're hoping it's just cramp, but we've still not had any word on that. If they're in action, I fancy us to give this game a good go, but if not, we're already looking depleted. So finally, score prediction. I think this is going to be a pretty close one. I'm going to go for another 1-1 draw for QPR. Thank you so much for having me on, and good luck for the season after Saturday.
Great to hear from Connor there and to get some added insight into both QPR so far this season and their dealings in the summer transfer window. Before we move on to my predicted 11, I just wanted to quickly speak on what I believe to be quite unfair critique of Paulo so far. Let's just make this very clear. We're 2 games into the season. We're not 10, 15, 20 games in and we have a clear idea on how we're going to go. We're 2 games in, one of which was a Carabao Cup game we all expected to lose anyway. I know the first half against Norwich was really poor, but what we did learn was quite a lot actually about some of our more fringe players and whether they're really up to the standard to contribute this season. I've seen so many people on social media go absolutely over the top in their reactions so far. Don't get me wrong, there are things that concern me. I felt in the first half against Norwich, the players looked quite confused at the system, where they were meant to be, when they were meant to press. It was all very disjointed and confused. In the second half, it improved slightly, of course, when players of more quality and intelligence come onto the pitch. Kevin Caben, arguably the best defender at the club. He made a massive difference. Jeremy Ngakia at right back, a stark contrast really to Ryan Andrews. Imran Louza coming into midfield over Tom Delhi. I mean, the levels there are just absolutely phenomenal when you compare the two players. So I think for me, the first 11, when everyone's fit, is probably a playoff challenging team. You look at the first 11 when Georgie, Vatta, Bar, Iran Kunda, Hector Kipriani, Caben, Abankwa, Wiley, Selvik. That first 11 as a whole for me is excellent when they're fit. Unfortunately, we currently find ourselves in a situation where that isn't the case. Now, what I want to see from Paulo, the coach and staff and the players, is to be able to adapt to maybe a slightly different system while we're waiting for some players to return, because it's a very unique way of playing. The physical demands on the players are much greater than we've seen under previous managers, especially when you look at the fullbacks and the wingers. They have to be really intelligent and in the right places at the right time to really make the system function. Triangles, it's all very complex. So I think for me, what I want to see against QPR, again, even if we do lose, which is a strong possibility given the injuries we have, is just progress, positives, and ultimately a bit more flexibility in the system. Because so far, as I said, we seem disjointed, confused, and I believe some of these players don't quite know what they're doing. So flexibility is what I want to see this weekend. Okay, this is my predicted 11 for the match against Charlton Athletic. And as you can see, pretty similar actually to what we saw against Charlton, other than Iran Kunda coming in from the start, going through from back to front, Egil Selvik in goal, regardless of his mistake against Norwich. That's the first real glaring error he's made since he joined the club. So I've got no concerns going forward about Egil Selvik. He retains his place in goal. And from my understanding, Nathan Baxter has been nursing a slight injury in the last few weeks anyway, so he wouldn't necessarily be in contention to play. Left back, very simple. Mark Bowler retained his place once again. I don't think he's done anything glaringly wrong since he's come into the club. And Caleb Wiley doesn't seem to be around at the moment. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with him. He joined pre-season late and it's probably getting back up to fitness, but it seems to be taking quite a while. So Bowler retained his place. Kevin Caben and James Abankwa in the centre of defence, both of them solid players. Kevin Caben especially has impressed so far this season. Let's hope he can stay fit. Jeremy Ngakia. Now, I've always had mixed opinions on Ngakia, especially when it comes to his injuries and how often he's absent from the Watford first team. But for me personally, he was really impressive in that second half against Norwich. For me, the biggest positive from him was actually his urgency to get forward, to carry the ball, and to create dangerous opportunities for Watford. We know he's good defensively, but to see him contribute more offensively is a real positive. So great to see Ngakia contributing, and he should start in this game, of course, over Ryan Andrews. The midfield two, the deeper players, for me, are not up for debate. Imran Louza and Hector Kipriani, as long as they're fit, they should start. Hector Kipriani particularly has settled in like he's been here for years. He's been really impressive for me and is definitely future captain potential. This area here where Musa Sissoko is, the number 10 position, this is where I think we could see some changes. So, for example, it wouldn't surprise me potentially if Sissoko didn't play at all. We might see Iran Kunda come into this role, Bar switch over to the right, and then we bring Mamadou Doumbia over to this left-hand side. We know Paulo has tried Doumbia on this left in a couple of games, and you might favour that once again. Iran Kunda, whilst not naturally a 10, could of course play in this role. Equally, Doumbia could drop into the 10, Iran Kunda come over to this right, and then Bar over to this left-hand side. Now again, it's not ideal. If Vatta was fit, I assume he would play in this role, but we're going to have to be quite adaptable given the injuries we've got. So for me, I've seen a few people say we could potentially see this. And also, if this does happen and Doumbia plays in behind Luca Kieramgard, you could almost make this into almost like a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4 formation where you got Kieramgard win flick-ons, Doumbia running through. That could very much work, and you'd have Bar and Iran Kunda, you know, whipping balls into the box really. So for me, this could be very interesting to watch against QPR. So we'll have to see what happens. Do let me know your predicted 11 in the comments down below. So that is my predicted 11. In terms of my score prediction, I went for a 2-2 draw away at Charlton. I'm going to agree with Connor here, actually, a 1-1 draw at Vicarage Road. I'm going to go for Iran Kunda to get his first goal in front of the Rookery end, and I'll go with Kwame Poku to bag for Queen's Park Rangers. Let me know your predicted 11 and score prediction in the comments section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again for our post-match reaction on Saturday evening. Bye-bye.